Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy DLloyd. So the Chicago Bulls last night officially announced that Tomas Satoransky is going to be the official starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls, which means Kris Dunn will be coming off of the bench. Now, this isn't too much of a surprise, right? Going into the offseason, we knew Chicago was going to be trying to upgrade that point guard position. Well, they did just that. They spent the 7th overall pick drafting Coby White. They also went ahead and signed Tomas Satoransky from the Washington Wizards to a 3-year, $30 million contract. Now, you don't do those two things if you're 100% confident in Kris Dunn. And why should they be 100% confident in Kris Dunn? Over his 3 seasons, he hasn't lived up to what people expected him to do coming into the league, right? His first season, his rookie year, was basically a mess. I don't think anything came productive out of that. He's bounced back a little bit the other 2 years, but he's still lacking when it comes to the offensive side of the basketball. We know how good of a defensive guy he is, how good he is at coming up with steals. He's a great defender. Offensively is where Kris Dunn is lacking. So they tried to trade Kris Dunn in the offseason. Didn't really get a lot of offers that enticed them to make that move. So they decided to come back, maybe go ahead and have a competition. And they did just that between the 3 guys. Satoransky has looked like the better guy over the preseason. And I think they're making an easy choice in going this route over Kris Dunn. So when you look at it and you look at the backcourt, right? The backcourt is going to be primarily ran by one guy. That guy is Zach LaVine, right? He is basically going to do almost everything for the Chicago Bulls. So Satoransky is a guy who could fit into that lineup. When he's not bringing the ball up the court or being the primary ball handler, he's a decent catch and shoot guy, right? He's going to shoot 40% from the 3-point line. You look at Kris Dunn and what he's done, especially in the preseason, he's been shooting 20% from the 3-point line. So you get a guy who could actually space out the court a little bit. He can shoot the ball. He has enough confidence in his shots that he can shoot the basketball when open, and he's not a high usage guy at all. He's okay with having the ball in LaVine's hands, with having the ball in Otto Porter's hand, Larry Markkanen's hands, basically everybody but his own hands. And I think he's a good enough point guard to be able to give you a higher assist to turnover ratio, something that Kris Dunn, even in the preseason, has not done. He has more turnovers than assists. He's only shooting in the low 40s from the field, 20% from the 3-point line. Hasn't looked that good, man. And I think a lot of it could be a confidence thing. So you have him coming off of the bench now, Kris Dunn, that is. What is his role going to be off of the bench? I don't know, but I'm hoping he could be a good complement to a Coby White, because that's somebody who you're going to have to put in the game and let him, adapt to the NBA. You have to give him a chance the same way they give Kris Dunn a chance over the last 3 seasons. But with all of that said, I just don't see a scenario where Kris Dunn is still with the Chicago Bulls going into the next season. He's very well a guy who could be traded mid-season. And I think that's the best, really, for both parties involved. I think Kris Dunn needs a fresh start somewhere else. He hasn't lived up to the hype at all. I think a lot of people in Chicago have, for the lack of a better term, given up on him. And I think for him, maybe going somewhere else to a team that is more willing to help develop him at this point can be a better situation. At this point, you have fallen out of favor, right? You have 2 guards ahead of you on the pecking order at your position. That is never a good thing, man, because they obviously feel high on Coby White. If you spend a 7th overall pick on him, and then you spend $30 million over the next 3 years on Satoransky. So we'll see what ultimately comes out of this, but I think Kris Dunn's time in Chicago is coming to an end. This is the beginning of the end, but I think ultimately Jim Boylen, he made the right decision. Chicago Bulls, they made the right decision. I think for their team, Satoransky gives them the best chance to win. Then we'll see how Coby White turns out in the regular season. But I think those are the 2 guys you have to favor. Even though we know Kris Dunn could play great defense, those are the 2 guys that you have to favor at this point. But you guys let me know how you guys feel about this in the comment section below. Did the Chicago Bulls make the right decision by moving on from Kris Dunn? And at the same time, is this the beginning of the end of Kris Dunn with the Chicago Bulls? You guys let me know how you guys feel about this in the comment section below. It's your boy DLloyd. I'm see y'all next time. Peace.